Welcome to the Soul Sisters series, where you'll get thought-driven, inspiring topics for your soul with Vaughn Solis and Brenda Rachel. Okay, so welcome to another episode of Soul Sisters. Today we are recording part 5 for you, and we are going to be talking all about angels, how we work with them, how they can help you. So welcome. I'm Vaughn. I'm Brenda. And together, we are the Soul Sisters. So welcome, Steph.
Hi, honey.
I love you too. So today, let's get right to it. So when I was reading in your book, and you can remind the folks what the title of your book is.
Okay. My book is Broken Spirit, Awakened Soul, My Journey of Healing with the Angels.
So, and that's a very wonderful book. And so Brenda and I are doing this Soul Sisters, as I've said in previous episodes. One, as a legacy to ourselves, two, as a commitment that we have to provide thought-driven, inspiring information to our audience, to whoever you are and however you found us. We're all about provoking thought and expanded consciousness so that you can live your absolute best life. Right, sis?
Right.
And by doing that, inspiring you, we talk all about our trials and tribulations, from family dysfunction that was quite severe in actual fact growing up, and all the way to me losing my daughter to suicide in 2005, and the struggles that I have overcome to embrace a fantastic life, and Brenda's struggles, which she's written all about in her book, about overcoming many, many disabilities. As I acknowledge, Brenda is not, is not unaffected by the loss of my daughter. But as we sort of reviewed our life, and we saw that we have had complete opposite experiences, and as we like to say, and I've said in one earlier episode, when we buy something for each other, we make sure we hate it enough to give to the other person.
Because we know that, I know that she will like it.
Yeah, same. Do you like it? Yeah, okay, I know I won't. So anyway, vice versa. So, but the fun aside, we do cover some pretty serious topics, but today we're going to lighten it up a little bit.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about, I think probably, which is one of our favorite things, the angels.
Absolutely. 100%.
And how they can actually bring miracles in your life. Crap, they brought miracles in mine, and I've actually had humans present as angels. No, I've had angels present to me as humans a couple of times. And we've both had very powerful experiences that can be nothing but angelic intervention, but others, things where we can have, and we'll expand on this, but like warnings, messages on a whole bunch of different things, and basically even being saved by them, just in our near misses, which we did talk about in an earlier episode, our absolute near misses along with exit points. So they're pretty powerful. But let's get started. Okay, so I think the most cool thing was kind of how I gave you that book for your birthday.
Yes.
And that kind of started our journey together, didn't it?
Yes.
So how about you share that?
Okay.
What did I do? I gave you Angel Medicine.
Angel Medicine.
With by Doreen Virtue.
Okay, no, it wasn't for my birthday.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was for your birthday in the December. Because I remember going to this bookstore.
Okay.
And I knew you were working a little bit with angels. I already knew they were in your life. Okay. I did know that. But I never otherwise thought of them. So I remember wanting to ship you a book for your birthday. And so I went to a little bookstore called Kohl's, which is in a mall. And, kind with dusty shelves.
Okay.
And had no idea what I was going to get you. And it was like I was sort of driven. This is my part of the story, sort of driven to this aisle. And there was this book, Angel Medicine. And it was by Doreen Virtue. And I went, I need to get that. And I remember sending that to you, and I possibly sent you a deck of cards with it, but I'm not sure.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
But I thought it was also for, I was off with my feet.
No, it was completely for your birthday.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And did you like it? You liked it?
Oh, I
Liked it so much. You told me to go get it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I totally forgot.
It's okay.
So I thought
That was what was
something else.
impacting for me about that is being like, I have to get that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you read it and you say, you have to get it.
Yes, I remember absolutely being so empowered by the messages that the angels were actually there to help us out and could be called on at any time. There was no limitation for their availability. And I just had such a profound belief that my life was going to change completely because I now had this positive force in my life.
Yeah. Why did you think I needed it?
Because I thought that you just, I don't know, it was just an innate thing that she needs this as much as I do.
Right.
Because I knew that you were like suffering.
I wasn't yet. Janaea was still alive. So this is what was so interesting. So from my end of it, I went out. When Brenda says, go get something, I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went off and bought the same book. I found it at a bigger bookstore. And neither of us, I think, neither of us knew Doreen Virtue. No, Doreen Virtue.
No, we hadn't heard anything about it.
No. So I go get the book, and long story short, and the deck of cards, which were the, I think it was working with the archangels. I still have that. I have all my decks. And yeah. And so I'm at this point having fun. And I had an experience that Christmas. So this must have all happened in like very early December or something. And you got your gift. And I went out because at Christmas, I had a physical manifestations that could have been nothing but the angels. So I'd gone off really quickly. I'd gone off, bought my husband a bunch of stuff for Christmas, a few $100s. And back in 2004, this was in 2004 Christmas, that was, a fair bit of money. And I remember thinking at the time at the cashier, you need to hang on to these receipts in case anything doesn't fit. So I wrapped everything. Maybe a week later, I don't know, had the receipts tucked in my purse, never took them out of my purse. And here's the thing that's so interesting when you have a physical manifestation. Anyway, one day I went and I looked and those receipts were gone. Absolutely gone. And I tore the house apart basically looking for them. And don't ask me why they were so important but in my mind, I was thinking, well, if one of these things doesn't fit, I'm out all that money. It was all money based at that time. But the important thing was I probably spent 2 or 3 days looking everywhere, right? But I knew, you've ever had an experience where you put something there and it's not there, right?
Yep.
So I asked the family if any of them went and took these receipts as a joke out of my purse, because somehow they must have known. I must have been basically going on about it with the family. So I thought someone had played a joke on me. And no, they didn't even know. Nobody was that interested in my receipts. So anyway, I can't remember if it was literally the second or third day, but it was pretty quick. I decided one morning at 5:30, I got up early. And I just sort of had a personality that if something's not right, I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Me too.
I know. So I take my purse down and nobody's up in the house. And it's 5:30 in the morning. I put it on the counter and I open it up and all the receipts are there.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, it's kind of as interesting as a dry feather in a wet shower drain, which I've also had. But that's just, so that sold me. That sold me. And then the other thing that happened, and my daughter was still alive at this point. Okay, I had no idea that just a few months later, I was going to be thrown into this spiral of bereavement and grief. And so about in February, I was playing with the cards, and I hadn't heard from my daughter for a couple of days, which was very unusual because we usually talked, every day. And I really worried. If you're a parent, you know that where's your kid, and she was living in the city attending university, and I had no idea where she was. So I did a reading with those cards, Archangel deck, and they told me in no uncertain terms that I didn't have the complete picture, the complete story, and not to worry, essentially. When you do card readings, you have to interpret the information. But I had done enough. Years ago, I played around with tarot, so I had enough that I thought, okay, I'm going to trust this. And later that day, she called me and just said she'd been with a friend. So, but what that did was I'm going, okay, I'm going to trust that the angels are real. So that's enough about me. What made you really trust that the angels, you could work with them and that they were a real powerful force in your life?
Well, for me, they started in I think it was the spring of 2005. I'd been off with my feet, had bilateral plantar fasciitis starting in the early 2004. And so when I got the book, and I was just laying on the couch all the time wondering why this was happening to me and what my purpose was. And so I'd look out the window and just say, angels, like, what is it that you want me to do? Why am I here? What message do you want me to bring to people? And they started channeling songs, verses of songs and melodies. And sometimes I would get the melody.
Yep.
And sometimes I would get the song. It didn't matter which order. And then when I went back to work in 2006, because I was off work for many months, but I suffered for 2 years with my feet. I'd lay on the bus and sleep because it was a long ride, and they would just come out of the blue. The songs would just come out of the blue, and I would just be singing in my head bar by bar. And
neat,
yeah, and it was just like, okay, so
you just trusted them.
I just trusted them from that moment forward.
Yeah,
the angel. That was the very first experience in my life of them becoming a reality in my life.
Right.
I guess myself, from having been raised in a Christian home, I was aware of angels, but in a religious sense.
Yeah, me too. Like ornaments and
Christmas.
I once was in a Christmas play and played an angel and wore blue leotards. I thought that was. I still remember that. You're an angel with blue leotards, right?
Well, that's
all I did. Oh, at the Baptist church, okay. And remember when they used to do the Christmas concerts? Yeah, I still remember. For some reason, I needed to wear blue leotards. I chose them, and they didn't say anything.
Oh, that's hilarious. That so is.
One thing I'm sort of hearing when you're talking about learning to trust now we're talking about the reality of them in our life, that this was sort of like you as a messenger.
Yeah.
What more can I do? Whereas for me, it was, please let me know my child is safe. Mine was all about safety. And in looking back, it's easy to kind of see how we're going to then end up working with them, purpose work, because we do very different things. But mine was prepping me for, as I said, the horrendous grief and bereavement. And by the time Janaea died, so 5 months, so she died in the July. So I had this awakening in the February, the card reading in the February, the receipts in the December, the card reading in the February. So by the time when she took her life by suicide, in the July 26, 2005, my go-to was the angels. Now I wasn't so rational that I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to work with the angels. No, I was desperate for answers. And that, I'm going to say, forced me to now seriously embrace that as a reality in my life. And that was the moment I started working with the resources that Doreen Virtue offered, an online course. And listen, we had internet, but it wasn't the same.
Nothing like it is today. Yeah,
it was offered probably through Hay House or something, and you had to pay for it. And then you got a chapter a week, like a lesson a week. And then I had another one, if unless it was the same one, I don't know, literally come by snail mail with all of these. Honestly, I want to say they were cassettes. I'm pretty sure. I don't think we had CDs back then.
Probably not.
2005?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Okay. Anyway, and I religiously worked with them. And I'm not going to go into detail about that because in my book, Divine Healing, Transforming Pain into Personal Power, not only do I write about the entire experience from the moment I learned of my daughter's suicide to understanding like the afterlife, and then moving in part 2 of that book into a self-practice for healing that was directly channeled to me by the angels and Janaea. I can take very little credit for that. So if anybody is touched by suicide or other very difficult loss, losing your child, these principles will work for, any type of grief or adversity to help yourself move forward. That book is available globally, as is yours, available globally, both in e-format and paperback. And I encourage you to check it out. You can also go to my site, which I'll have links below at bonsolis.com. And, and I'm saying this not to push the work, but to literally share resources that can be very difficult to find. And I don't have time to talk about it today, which is why I'm encouraging people read that book if you want to, because the power and the presence of the angels, they never left me from the moment. They were always with us and me. But when I said, okay, angels, I need you, their first physical presence, other than the receipts, which was still kind of like, okay, that was weird, but I sort of tested it and I went, okay, and I would go in my bedroom, and this was starting, I would say, a couple months after Janaea took her life, when I could sort of wrap my head around, working, like devoting a period of my day to study, and I would actually book an appointment with them. I think Doreen actually had said that in her book. If you want to work with them, like schedule a time, 1 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever tomorrow, or on, whatever. For me, it was a daily thing. Please, I'm inviting you to come into my life. I know some of you might think that's a bit weird, but I did that to structure some time when my life was otherwise out of control. And so one day I added automatic writing, and I went, okay, I want to prove that the angels are with me. So I would ask that you show me that by allowing, me to receive you through automatic writing. And honest to God, I sat there with my little journal and pen in hand and closed my eyes. And it took what seemed like quite a long time. And all of a sudden, my hand started moving. And I thought I was just writing, the first or second 2 pages of a novel. And then it stopped. And I was so, and this is how you can tell. See if you agree. And I know you do.
I don't.
Well, no, not with that. But when you're experiencing and when you're experiencing an angelic intervention or experience, it's so powerful. You're just stunned by it.
Yeah.
And so in this one, I was stunned, and I stopped. My hand stopped. And then I looked, and there were just a few little tiny squiggles like this. But it was enough to show me they were there. And it's kind of like, if you want this, Fawn, here you go. What else? Because it did take me a few more years to kind of understand when they were, giving me a message, giving me like, I don't really want to say warning, but say commuting. And I would have such a, loud message in my head. Don't go that route. Skip the highway and go the back road. And no, I'm going the highway, And of course there would be cars backed up and delays and it took me only a couple times to go, okay, when that thought is coming, boom, in my head, you're going to listen to it in whatever way I'm getting that message. But that did take me a while to figure out. Is that me? Is that me? What do you want to say about that? Like, did it take you a while to kind of understand, like, if you ever had any sort of warnings or interventions that was the angels, or you just knew when they were talking to you?
I just knew. I think once the songs came, and I got 6 songs, that I had no musical background as far as being trained for anything. And so once they came and once they were recorded and put into a CD, that was my like confirmation of like they were working through me and also bringing me messages that I never would have in a million years thought up by myself. And
so you just knew and trusted when you got something really just appear in your head, something that message, you knew it was the angel?
Well, no, I just started. I didn't wait for them. I was always in constant telephone contact with them. Like,
yeah,
I talked to them all the time. Like, you know.
So I think for me, probably my grief. Listen, I was in trauma. I was in shock. I was in enormous pain. And you put a wall around you when you're dealing, and all of that is like really dark energy. It just is. You know, you can go and take any book from, look at any book from any metaphysical, spiritual thought leader out there, and there is no denying that anything bad we feel is of a darker, toxic,
absolutely
heavier energy. And David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins, he's written a book, Power versus Force, and that's scientific work about energy. He has something in there called the Map of Consciousness, and I relied on that book for many years because they assigned, my word, an energy score, if you will, to the lowest of energy to the highest vibration, and which is, in your love realm. And then they did numerous tests with humans in various ways in terms of being able to develop that system of basically giving a number, I don't really want to say scoring, but giving a number to energy. And anyway, it's a Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, an amazing book. I'll put a link in the show notes here. But when you understand, when you want to embrace, I think that's what I really want to say, is when you want to embrace, this beautiful higher energy into your life at the worst of your suffering, intention, in my opinion, from that divine realm is acknowledged, received, embraced. And if you could really hear an angel speak, they just want us to have our best life and feel love. And that's it.
Like, well, and I'll just throw in there and know that they're with us all the time in every moment, and they're accessible in every moment.
Yes.
It's not like they will only come like in an emergency. They are with us all the time.
Yeah. And I'm not going to talk about my physical manifestations today, but I had 2. And one came to me as an older lady. And all I'm going to say is she came to me in a time of need in a very public place. And I was very unhappy and felt very out of place where I was. And she leaned into me because all I wanted to do was go home. Okay, it was a psychic fair. I was working at a psychic wellness fair. And everybody else, all the other booths had all these people. And it was my first foray into wanting to work with clients publicly as what we were called back then as angel therapy practitioners, coined by Doreen Virtue. And a lot of people were coming by the booth. It was like a 3.5 day from Friday to the Monday. And this was the opening Friday night. And I was so excited. And everybody was like kind of walking, past my booth and looking and, but not stopping, not making an appointment for the weekend. Like I was doing channeling readings for people back then. And all these other booths were regulars, and they were doing like tarot and numerology and, palm reading and all of this stuff. And they were like lined up. And so I turned to my husband, who was very patiently working with me, and I said, I want to go home. I was desperate. I wanted to go home. And this older couple walked by, and she stopped. What I assumed was her husband, just what it was in the background, and she leaned in the desk, and she leaned right into me, and she looked right in my eyes, and I said, "Do I know you?" And she said, "Oh, we've been friends for a long time." And she said, "Your clients are going to come, and you're going to be so busy the rest of the weekend." Actually, I got chills just saying that now.
I did too. I did.
Did you? Oh my God, I'm still like, oh my God, I'm still
I could sense her presence kind of.
holy hell. Yeah. And it's either like it's cold in here or I feel I'm still tingling with her.
Yeah.
And I just sat back, and my husband and I both looked at each other.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
She walks away, and they walked away. And I said to my husband, I got to go find her. Like I need to go see because I didn't know what was going on, and they were nowhere to be found. And it was a relatively medium-sized room, and gone. And there was only one way and in and out of that room. And I think it took me a little while to understand that was an angel.
Yep.
Who else?
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Anyway, I had another one. I'm not going to talk about it today, but. That is, it's, I can't even explain it. You'd have your own reaction. But Doreen wrote several books, and actually had anthologies of, an anthology, at least one of them, or if not two, of people's experiences with angelic interventions, saved from car accidents. I don't know, there were so many that, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you experience them yourself, so you get beautiful music, I get reassurance. Mm-hmm. Largely, I think of my safety and belonging, and the courage to keep going. But when you were saying earlier, like you didn't wait for them, did you ask them all the time to guide you, to heal you? Like, in what ways did you ask them to work with you?
Oh, yeah. After they were present after I acknowledged their presence in my life, because they were always present, I just wasn't physically and spiritually aware of them. Then I asked all the time. Like, the songs were the actual, beginning point for me to have a purpose. And from that point on, daily. And when I went through more, other disabilities and had other things happen in my life, that I always turned to them. I'll always ask them. They were like my big sister, like a big sister. Like they were just as natural to me being with me, and I do now. Like it's like I just live with the angels. The angels live with me, and I live with them. Yeah, and there's just no division between us.
Yeah. The same. And, one of the things I did, and this was a fun exercise, and I know you don't do it, but I started this maybe 3-4 years ago. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to track. I'm going to keep a Word document of the things that I ask them for. Yeah. And I just call it my daily request table. I track what I've requested and what the result was. And if there is an unresolved request, I leave that in red. And when it's resolved, it goes to green, resolved, and then what the result was, the date and the action that happened, how it manifested essentially. And I don't use this just for like minor things. I'm talking about things that cause me anxiety, things that I might, even just worried about, wanting things for my son to turn out, things like that. Some things are really big, and we will get to it. You can ask stuff for other people, but they have to kind of want it. And angels just don't intervene, and we're going to get to that in a second. But, it's more to calm me. And if I can't control something, I wouldn't put on that request table, please help calm me. But I will say, an important document, please make sure I get that. Please, make sure that, my payment goes through. But I will put by date just for fun. And I can tell you on probably one hand, probably 2 or 3 fingers out of, I'm up to 38 or 39 pages now. They've all been resolved in the time frame I asked. And some of these are really, really big. And so it's really like, I remember doing it for you to help you when you were moving from your country. I'm going back to live in the country. Okay, sis. Yeah. And the bear scared her away. Yeah. And so try it, and so I remember putting that one on the list for you, for example, because I knew that you wanted to find your perfect home. And the angels delivered her to the building next door. Isn't that cool? Absolutely. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So we can ask for things and they'll bring and deliver us stuff that is better than what we, intended or even thought we deserved, or we just didn't think about it at all. Right?
So for me, I constantly ask them for things, so I don't put it in a journal. So just in that way, we're just different. But I do ask them. Today, I asked them to keep me calm or to bring me calm. I ask them all the time if I'm in anxiety or if some part of my body is hurting or whatever. And so, and
here's a question.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah. So this is a bit of a tricky subject, especially when we don't see results. But have you asked them? I'm not talking about the bigger fibro stuff. Brenda lives with fibro. We talked about that in an earlier episode as well. But have you ever asked them for healing for something where you've actually seen a result and something's gone away? Because I have. I had a little teeny weeny growth on my on the side of my knee. I don't know what it was. It was years and years ago, and it really was bugging me. And I just asked them, Raphael's the angel. You can ask that, but you can just work in general to get rid of it. And within a week or two, one day I looked and the thing was just gone after a few years of having it. So there are instances, right, that the angels can heal us, right?
Oh, yes. I believe they can heal us in all instances. Like right now, I'm going through a situation where I'm deciding if I'm postponing my surgery for my knee surgery. And so I've been asking angels to guide me, to show me if this is the right direction I should go. So today, actually, I saw a video and an article online about the different things that are happening to my knee and how many seniors, the percentage of seniors that experience some kind of knee pain. Anyway, what I learned for myself today is that I'm not the only one, and it's given me more clarity anyway in the direction I'm going to go. And and I'm asking them to help me with a complete healing for both my knees.
So that's like a really big decision, and that's a great example. And thank you for bringing it up because I'm supposed to be her carer.
No, I know I will be your carer. I will be your carer.
Okay, but anyway, I'm just teasing. I like to have fun a little bit. But that is a really, really big example of like trusting that you can say no to surgery, where you were telling me a couple weeks back that you were a candidate for it. It's not urgent. So we want to make the difference here. But even though some people have actually had something that could feel life-threatening to them, and they have said no, and they're trusting another process, divine, from the belief in this higher power. So, but so choosing, and I remember when you told me this a couple weeks ago that you're leaning more now to not having the surgery, and I was like, whoa, because you did spend quite a bit of time, several months invested in prepping as if you were going to have the surgery.
Almost a year now. So I just wanted to say that I had a discussion with my doctor yesterday. They said, I'm thinking about this. So there were a number of options. It was I could postpone the surgery, or I could postpone/delay, or cancel it completely, or go ahead with it. And so anyway, he just suggested I call my surgeon's office and set up a follow-up call to tell him where my head is at. And when talking to the doctor, I said to him, my knees from when I went to the surgeon, they're 90% better. And so from how I was, so at that time, I was very, very, very in a lot of discomfort. And
so have you been asking the angels have you been asking the angels in the last year to heal your knees?
No, in the last month.
Just the last month. Okay, interesting. So it's really, so when we talk, so I think we've given you a lot of context in terms of how they entered our life. For me, it was definitely to prepare me for the support I was going to need when I lost my daughter a few months later. And I will not ever say that they did not save my life. They for sure saved my life. And you, in terms of moving into your purpose work and really becoming the messenger for them, and prepped you for that in the midst again of pain, absolute pain and disability, and they showed themselves. So in terms of you working with them, if you want to start working with them, well, there's tons of books out there. We just both ended up having the experience, beautiful experience of going down to work, train with Doreen in California in the April of 2006. I was called, after I did the online course and stuff, I was called very much to go down and certify as an angel therapy practitioner, where there were several hundred of us there at the event. And too much to talk about today. We'll talk about that another time, maybe. I'd hoped to get to it today. But anyway, Brenda went with me as my support. And we spent a wonderful, beautiful 2 weeks down in total in California. I was terrified to get on a plane. I could barely feel the ground under my feet when I was walking, moving. I was just going through the motions. So I remember you telling me, I'm going with you to sort of take care of me. But then you certified too. And you didn't just certify there. You came home and you had to, do some stuff to actually certify through Doreen. And we did all that, and we made a commitment. Both of us made a commitment. We did that, went through that, made a commitment. And, never look back. So if you, and it was Doreen that kind of taught us, anybody can work with angels.
Absolutely.
Right? What do you have to do, sis?
And in our course also too, we had to, part of the course, most of the course was everything was fly by the seat of your pants, and you just sat down across from another person that you didn't know, and she'd give us an exercise, and we'd have to do something, like do a reading for that person or do something. And that always was around the angels, and with no preliminary practice or anything. And it was amazing how each of those sessions, I think we both found out that we were natural angel healing practitioners. Angel, at that time through Doreen's practice, it was an angel therapy practitioner that we were certified as. But now I call myself, and I think Brenda's too, an angel healing practitioner.
Correct. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I did. It turned out that I think I ended up sort of being really good at it. I mean, obvious.
You were very, very, very good.
Right. Yes. But let's be clear. Two things. I think when we're in pain, severe pain, and in our vulnerability, that is the perfect time to be a vessel for higher energy. If we want it in our life,
right?
It's equally possible you can invite a lot of dark energy into your life in that same vulnerability. So Doreen taught us to white light ourselves, and I would do that. I no longer really do that, but in those early years I did, because I did feel the presence once at least of what I can only call like super dark and really scary energy.
Okay, I never did.
And I did. And I'm like, just get away. I remember saying that, get away from me. And it was, in the night, and when I would wake up, and I'm going to just say, and I knew people that were very curious. They weren't my friends or anything. I just knew about them, met them at, different events and stuff, that they were working and sort of tempting kind of darker forces that I was not comfortable around. But those people also had sort of followings, because some people are just really curious about negative and darker forces. They just are. Not us. I actually had somebody ask me, and this is actually really good for us to sort of answer and see if you've ever come across this. Someone asked me, well, do you work with dark angels? I think she called them. And I'm like, what? In my world, there's only good and loving white angels, if you will. And that might be a callback to some people who religiously understand Satan as a fallen angel. Mm-hmm. Listen, I can't speak to that. Just know it's never happened for me. And I can tell you, working with that realm that we had worked with for by 9 years, I'd been working and doing channeling readings for people regularly, and largely by phone, and which works really just as well. And so I after a few years was like, okay, like I guess I guess I'm pretty decent at this, and and really my work was all about working with the archangels specifically and zeroing in for people to give them the tools that they could sort of work with the angel themselves or angels themselves, or just have the tools and the knowledge within that they could solve this problem or that problem. But most of my clients were people that were struggling with a decision or two and life guidance and things like that. So the angels always delivered. They always told me who was there, and so you can't doubt that. You do it enough, you can't doubt it, right?
Yeah.
But what I did want to say is that surrounding yourself with white light, if you're scared, because let's talk about that. Okay, maybe it sounds like you didn't really experience that, but the more that I got in touch with the direct channeling of these powerful beings, and again, this was only the archangels. That's because I had been doing Doreen's work, and she worked largely with all angels, but she did specialize in archangels, right? And there's different opinions about how many they are and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not going to get into that there. I let that just develop for me on my own. But it was kind of guided by Doreen's stuff. But when an angel presented to me, and I'm not saying they presented physically, no, but in my mind, and where you meet at that point where you're meeting at a certain level of vibration, I let them show me or allow me to see them the way I needed to. And that as color, maybe as an image, whatever. And so that's how they appear to me in my own way. But the white lighting, they could be scary. It could be scary for me because I'm inviting something in that's just so much greater than me, right?
I didn't have that experience.
Oh, okay. So I did. And so I had to be careful. But that suffering, but also I'd had a metaphysical and spiritual practice for 23 years when Janaea died. So I was already an open vessel. But this was just like now really, really opening myself up. And really a large part of what drove that was wanting to know where Janaea was and that she was okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she was coming to me too for many years regularly. And as I said, those visits and that messaging that they each delivered to me, angels, the angelic realm, and Janaea, formed the basis of the self-practice I offer in Divine Healing. So you can't question information that is being channeled to you by a higher source unless you want to. And I just basically trusted it. I just trusted it. So what would you offer people who want to get into, start working with the angels in any way? What should they do?
Well, my experience with doing my angel readings and any time I had messages for people, it was a very loving experience, and I never white lighted myself. I just sat down at the table and my client would be there, and often what the issue was for them didn't turn out to be the issue. And so the messages would just come, and it was just a very natural, it was a very natural experience. I used the cards and I read for them, but I also had other experiences. I've had 3 experiences where the angels had messages for people for me to deliver, and one in particular was in my back rehab clinic, and a lady had come in, and I saw her. I was laying on my table resting, and they said, you need to give this message to her. So I just got up off the table. I didn't even know what the message was yet till I walked over to her and started speaking and gave her the message.
Yeah.
And she started to cry.
Yeah.
And it was just like, so they just used me in a very natural way, very loving way and very gentle way. And so I was lucky. I didn't have the same experience that you did.
Yeah. So I never had a white light when I was working for clients. It was those early days.
No, but also too, in those early days, you were filled with such, you were in a very dark place yourself.
The sadness, the trauma, the shock.
Yeah.
I was a walking wounded, open book of come into my space.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that one experience, that one night where it did feel, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say evil.
Yeah.
Holy, it was kind of like peeking in. Can I get in there? And I still remember lying in bed, waking up, like this almost force, I think, woke me up, and I was scared. I am not gonna lie. I was scared. And I was sort of like, get away. And they just faded out and were gone. And it's sort of like, oh my God, my heart was pounding, and I was like, and I never forgot it. So, but what I'm trying to say is, so if you're going and you're scared, or you're like, oh my God, but I don't know what to expect, right? That's when you can just say, angels, please just protect me with a white light. Work with Archangel Michael. Please protect me with a white light. But I actually have a YouTube channel, Living Meditations, I call it. And I actually have a video on that channel. I'll put a link to the YouTube channel below, but I have how to work with angels in grief specifically. Yeah. I'm going to say, listen, I recorded that a few years ago, and so it probably doesn't sound the same as my podcast today, but nevertheless, the information stands. So that will give you a lot of help if you are watching this and in grief. I give you the specific angels to work with and how you can work with them, what you can ask them for, et cetera, et cetera. In general, it really is kind of as simple as asking them, just angels. Yep. And I think it takes practice. Don't you think it's sort of, we need to practice, and the more we practice, and I'm not talking about you need to go out and become a practitioner, although a lot of people do, but just in your daily life, what do you think? Is it just as simple as trusting, asking for a little help, and see if they kind of deliver?
And for me, it's just ask and ye shall receive. So simple as that. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing in my mind at all that will sway me from they will deliver. They will deliver. You know, it's not like maybe they will, maybe they'll hear me. Are they there? You know, that kind of thing.
Right. But thinking of it as like a brand newbie to it, you know, when, you know, like it does test our ability to trust.
Yeah, no. So I think a really good thing is just like what Vaughn did is set a journal. Like if you have a specific thing that you're really needing help with, is start with whatever you want to call your journal, and write down what it is you want to receive and the date you want to receive it by. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I do it for fun. Yeah. And I do it for fun, and that's just a thing I have with them. And it is fun to go back and just say, here's pages and pages and pages and pages. Now, I'm not going to get into it today with you, sis, but there's the inevitable, you know, there's going to be the person who inevitably is going to go, you know what? We're not here to convince you of anything.
No. We're specifically talking about our own journeys.
Absolutely.
And how the angels are working in our lives.
Right. And they can work in yours too, if you give them a chance. And I would say this, that the more you give them a chance, the more you're going to see the presence of them the gifts and the miracles they give us, if not even an actual manifestation in some way, maybe through a human, maybe through an animal. It could be anything. I don't know. If it feels like an angel, it's an angel. And if it feels like angelic intervention, it was angelic intervention. And it is not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace to the degree that you're interested. We just ended up doing it as our work and in writing our books and so on and so forth. But I couldn't go a day without them.
Oh, absolutely not. So just one fun thing I'll just say to you folks today is I needed to find a date in my book before I left to say something to my sister after we're finished here. And so I just went over to my book and opened the book, and there was the date.
Oh,
the exact page.
Yeah.
It was a totally closed book.
Yeah.
And I opened it, and there was the date, and I went,
yeah,
oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah. So a lot of signs, people might start by asking for signs, and that's fair, so you might see, I know that a lot is like feathers, coins, but that can get mixed up a little bit too with if you have a loved one gone, or is that them from the afterlife? So you end up learning. It depends who you ask. If I ask my daughter to come visit me, I'm not getting an angel visit. I'm getting a visit from Janaea. If I ask, the angels to deliver something for me, then, they're going to deliver it for me. I don't personally ask for visitations, and I never did ask for visitations. I want to be really clear about that. Show yourself so I can believe. No.
I never did either.
No. But I am going to just leave you with the idea that I think they will intervene in a situation where we're still supposed to be here.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that.
And we don't know enough to, they might be split second, like the time that I saw my daughter almost nearly get hit and would have been for sure killed. And it felt like time stopped for that, a split second that she could get the bike across before the car came. And it really I felt that was absolute divine angelic intervention. So, I can't stop time. They probably can. Right? So, again, I hope you found this interesting about the angels. If you want to learn more, as we've said, there's lots and lots of books. I want to just say I no longer do one-on-one channeling for people. Are you still working and doing any readings with folks, or no?
Not right now.
Right. So neither of us are offering that I'll call it a service anymore. But you will see and feel the angels, and in your case, hear them with the music in everything we have written. And on Brenda's site, Humanity with Heart, we'll have the links again in the show notes. You've got your music up there, right?
Yep, I have my music. There's over 2,000 posts of all videos, music videos.
You do quotes,
photos, articles, all angelically driven.
Yeah, Brenda's very gifted in writing these quote-like messages that are direct messages the angels give her, and sort of very poetic and stuff. And so you'll find all that on her site, and you'll find resources I offer through many channels, YouTube, my books, podcasts for the resources I continue to offer on other subjects, largely rooted in bereavement, grief, child loss, and suicide. So thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode, sis. Thank you so much for the time again.
Oh, hey, I love you, dear. I'm so glad to share this time with you.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you ready for a latte, but we sort of switched to herbal tea.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready for your herbal tea?
I sure am, sis. I sure am.
So anyway, until next time, we are the Soul Sisters. Love you, sis. Love you too.